Hey, how's it going, guys? Ancient Rune here, back with another Palworld video, and today I'll be going over how to hit the highest damage in Palworld as the player. This is going to go everything on about player damage, as well as some utility stuff. Now, I do have a video on this in the past, but I wanted to make one updated to Feybreak, even though, not everything has really changed, and that video still works, but I thought I may as well update it. First off, we'll go over the player damage formula, which is going to be the base damage of your weapon times attack stat, which includes Godfin, mount, Vanguard, accessory, as well as whatever you do with upgrading your attack here. And then it is also multiplied by food, and I have it on the screen here. And so we might as well go into it with Godfins. Godfins is a huge part of this to get some really easy damage, as when you're doing a setup or build like this, you basically, I've found, can always have at least 2 Godfins on me. And so Godfin at 5 stars will give plus 20 attack stat. So having 4 of these is plus 80. And then we have Vanguard, which is plus 10% player attack, and Stronghold Strategist. These are the 2 things that really only matter on a Godfin. And then maxing these out. Having defense is just nice, and it's pretty easy to get a Vanguard Stronghold Strategist Godfin, so you may as well. And it's pretty easy to get Godfins, as you can just go over to the Godfin turf area, which is right here, and as it says, Godfins will spawn everywhere. Now, you could also use Godfin Ignis, but it's kind of a bit harder to do. So with Godfins, with 4 of these, we have 80% plus 4 attack. That's plus 120% attack right here. You take away half, that's still 60% damage increase. And then also you can increase attack from attack pendants. Now, pendants of the same type cannot stack anymore as they could in the past, but you could use one of each tier. So we have the base, plus 1 and plus 2. This will give us plus 6 attack, which will give us 30% increased damage, just like that. Now, usually I only keep 1, but that's still 30%, as I like to have some extra defense or health, or maybe anti-gravity belt. But if you're really going min-maxing, then you'd want to go this. There's nothing here really that would help, but that will be the accessory damage, and as far as you can go with that. And then you'll also want to make sure you are increasing your attack or your stat points. You can either actually use the stat points here, or you can use elixirs. You will get these from Power Lotuses, either small or large, or the Might Elixir or the Might Remedy. You can find these in dungeons, as well as I think in some expeditions and the supply drops. And once you max this out, it's really easy. In the past, you had to choose specific stat points, but now you can max all your stat points up, so you don't really have to prioritize. Only when you're actually farming for maxing out every stat, you have to prioritize. But for this, I would just go all in on attack. And then we have mounts here. Now, I won't go into the elements just yet, as I want to go over the attack stat, but mounts in general, with these ones at least, are going to be plus 20% while ridden. If you use Frost Stallion or Frost Stallionac, it is plus 40% attack stat. And all of this is still additive with what I've talked about, but now we are going to go over food. I have it in my box. I have 2 of them actually here. I have Memorous Curry and Mozzarella Cheeseburger. Now, Memorous Curry is going to be the highest, and so I would make sure you get this. It is plus 25%. Now, this is plus 20%, so it's not that big of a difference, but it still is a pure malt of 5%. So it still is going to be impactful. This is pretty easy to make. I don't have the recipe on me, but I'll have an image of it. And so you can just make a bunch of them and then put it in your guild chest so it doesn't expire, and just grab them when you need to. I also do have some Gale Claw food, which gives defense if I ever need that. All right, and now for the mount options, we are going to be looking at these 12 here. Some of them are of the same element, and I'll be going over why. First off, we'll go with fire. This will change your damage to fire. It says applies fire damage to attack, so it sounds like extra damage, but it actually just changes your damage to fire. And then it also will give that increased damage boost of 20%. So for fire, I like to go with Pyron, Chilla Ignis, or Ragnarok. If flying, obviously Ragnarok. And Ragnarok is still good for like base, like running around, but you also have the option of Chilla Ignis and Pyron, as I found that can be a little bit faster. And for the passes for these guys, you of course want the Vanguard and Stronghold Strategist, but I also like having Legend, as it'll give movement speed and defense to make your mount a little tankier, as well as having a movement speed. I have Swift here, which is plus 30%, but any movement speed would be good. I haven't messed with trying to go stuff with Vampiric, as you could do that and have high damage attacks, so you can make your mount attack to heal it if it ever gets hit. But I don't really see it being that worth it, as you mainly want to just dodge attacks anyways. And then for all mounts, I like to make sure to increase with Pal Souls my health and defense to make these guys even tankier. And of course, I think this should be obvious, you want to make sure your partner skill is at max, so you get the maximum damage. Now this will not change the fire, but it will increase the attack stat, and so that is still important to get that 20%. And then I have multiple for electric types. We have Hellzephyr Lux, we have Beacon, and we have Univolt. Now Hellzephyr Lux is really cool just because it's flying mount, it's got good defense, more than this guy, so I would probably go Hellzephyr Lux over Beacon, but I haven't really done much movement speed testing. Like, you have Pyron being a little bit tankier than Chilla Ignis, and Ragnarok just kind of being tankier than all of them, a little bit less health than Pyron, but you still have the higher defense. So you can choose as you want. I would probably go Hellzephyr Lux, and then Univolt's just for like a more grounded pal if there's like an area that's not as friendly to flying mounts. And then all these are just kind of end up being the best option or the only option. We have Gildane, which is the best option here. This is new with Feybreak and is a ridden mount. You do have Anubis, which I have just one in here, so I'll take a look at it. When fighting together, applies ground damage to players' attacks, but the hidden increased damage is only 10% at max, unlike Gildane's 20% at max. So this is just better. You can also control your pal by riding it, so it's not just going off attacking enemies and getting it hurt and getting hit with attacks, where you, the player, can try and dodge it. And then for grass, we have Verdash. This does not increase your attack stat, but it does give increased grass damage, or changes your attack to grass damage. It also gives increased movement speed, which is nice for dodging attacks. I don't think there's any other like pal or mount that applies grass attacks. If I was stupid and missed it, let me know, but I think there's only one. And so I would just go with Verdash here. Now, because it doesn't, like, the increased stat doesn't give attack boost, going with a lower, like, star one will be better. Or not better, it'll still work, but you would lose out on that movement speed, which is just, again, nice for you to dodge attacks. And then for Dragon, we have Chillet. This will apply Dragon attacks to us and change our damage element to Dragon, and also give that 20% boost. And then we have Azerobe for water, as it'll change your attacks to water. Now, since this is usually like a sea pal, it can be a little weirder on ground, but still works just fine. And then we have Frost Stallion here. Now, it says changes the player's attack type to ice, which is worded different than other ones, which says applies, but it works the exact same. And then it gives us 40% at max attack stat instead of the 20%, which is nice. And it also says enhances ice attacks while mounted. This does not apply to the player, it only applies to the POW. And then we have Frost Stallion Noct for the dark attack. There are some other dark options which are cool, but because it gives plus 40% attack instead of the normal plus 20 for the usual go-to applied damage, Frost Stallion Noct's just going to be a lot better. And same thing, says enhances dark attacks while mounted. That's only to the POW. Now there are other ones in general that just say applies such and such attack, but some of them are not always 20%. So if there's one you don't see, it may just be because it's 10%. Unless it's like Frost Stallion or Frost Stallion Noct, then it's just irrelevant because these are just better. And then we are also going to want to look out for Felbat. Now this is not a mount, it does not increase your damage, it does not change your damage, but it gives lifesteal. And with the new oil rig, this became a lot more relevant. Already pretty relevant with the tower bosses, as this will make you tank instead of having to like worry about a POW to increase your damage. You'd basically just use a Felbat, and your stuff would take, your attacks would take longer to kill, but you'd stay alive longer, or at least easier to stay alive with this lifesteal, making Felbat a great choice. I have Vampiric on this just so this guy can attack on its own and heal health. Might be worth it on Verdash since it's also going to attack on its own, but I go with Felbat specifically because of it just attacking. I already have an oil rig video where I go over Felbat there, but you can also just obviously use this in the tower bosses as well, especially hard mode, making this really good. And as long as you play smart and use the right weapons, you'll be pretty invincible. And then we also have damage boosts like how sleeping at night will give increased damage. I believe it's ×2. If it's wrong, let me know. And then we also have status effects. We have Soak, which is from water attacks, which makes electric damage deal ×2 damage and lasts for 10 seconds. But it also does have fire damage. So if you're doing like a mix of things, keep in mind with that. We also have Ivy Covered, which is from grass attack, slows enemies, but most importantly, it doubles fire damage and lasts 10 seconds. And then we have Electrify, which is ×2 water damage and lasts 2 seconds. Now, with Soaked, it really just matters what you want to do. I would go Splash attack for that. And then for grass, for Ivy Covered, I'd go Circle Vine, and then for electric, I'd go Thunder Rain. That's what I've seen suggested, so that's what I'm going to suggest. All right, and then I kind of just went over everything like in order of formula, but with prioritizing, I also want to go over that. First off, you'll want to go with the Godfins, with the Vanguard and Stronghold Strategist, as that's just really easy to get. Then you have the mounts, because that's just super easy to set up. Then they're not hugely impactful, but you have the amulets. They're just really easy to get, but also get the increased stats from the elixirs and remedies. And then get the food, as that's just a pure molt. You won't need it in casual play, but for those high health enemies, you're going to want it. And then probably lastly focus on like those moves, as that's still really good, but you have to focus on that more. Best stuff for damage, but still interesting pals that I wanted to mention that I haven't like in the past, I don't think. We have Robin Quill Terra, Vanworm Christ, and Vanworm, which will increase your weak point damage by 40%. I don't know exactly where this is in the formula. I didn't look into that, but I would assume it's a mult, but it wouldn't beat having an element matching. But it is still really cool, and I guess if you're doing like normal attacks, it could be interesting, but it's again just something neat. Then we have Lively Noct and Lively, which will heal the player's health with its special ability for 2000 health. There's also like T-Fan, I think it is, but that heals for a lot lower health because it's just a lower tier POW, so it's not worth it. Then we have Menacing and Menacing Terra, which while fighting together increases the player defense, and this at max will give an increase of 14% defense. which is pretty cool. We already have lots of places to get defense though. And then we have Warsec Terra and Warsec, which is similar, but it only gives 10% debuff for defense, but it also gives a 10% fire resistance, which is really nice. And then we have Celestier, which is a new POW, and this increases the player's auto recovery speed while mounted by 30%, which is really cool. And I haven't messed with this, but I think it could be interesting to at least experiment with more. And then just some extra utility stuff, like we have the go-to flying mount, we have Jet Dragon with a bunch of movement speed and max stamina. I like having infinite stamina and Eternal Engine. It is a little less movement speed, but I like to make that sacrifice. And then we have Fangloat, which I really like to use for dungeons. I don't know if this is still the best one because we did get a lot of mounts, but this is just really fast. I think there's some situational with Dasmu, with sanded areas, but this one is just general fast movement speed and can double jump, and I really like the double jump part. So getting a Fangloat is really good. We also got a Fangloat Lux, so if you want to be spicy, you can do that just for the fun of it. And then we have Gale Claw, which will act as a glider and give you increased movement speed, as well as being able to hold a gun while gliding, which is really nice. At first, I thought movement speed increased it, so I have Swift and Runner, but it doesn't. Just go the regular Vanguard Stronghold Strategist. But increasing the partner skill level will increase the movement speed, so that's really what you want to focus on. And then we have Crow Jiro, which will launch you up in the air, which is just really nice utility sometimes, so I thought it'd be worth mentioning. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If I missed something, make sure to comment it down below so I can improve stuff and make better guides. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.